Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to Rangers Radio.
Well, hello, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Foxchair, on the show this evening is my two good friends, the one and only GB, and of course the legend that is the Port Bear. Evening, gents.
Evening, Oxchair, even Port Bear. Sun's out, guns out, boys.
Guns out. You've got a cap gun. Carry on, Port Bear.
True.
Well, I can only match up by saying, sun's out, mate, caps off. So, welcome to everybody. Great to be on, mate, with yourself and my mucker, GB.
Oh, dear. I think we'll go straight to the tune, mate. I'm in shock. GB, I'm in shock.
Mate, like taps back on.
Oh, dear. How are we both doing, gentlemen?
Well, for me, Ox, been a good week. It's good to see the confirmations of things starting to ramp up. Like, say, yesterday with the joint statement released to Sky Sports about the 49ers and their pursuit of taking over Rangers. So that's good to see. I think it's kind of like the worst kept secret, Ox. But it's good to actually see some statements now. And then obviously I've heard kind of the snippets of Patrick Stewart with the fans forum last night. So a couple of things that have been ticked off with that as well. So onwards and upwards.
Things are moving, mate. They'll never move forward fast enough and quick enough for us as supporters, mate. But I'm sure there's a plan in place, and listen, we'll know that when things come out. My understanding is that what's going to happen is that they've got enough shares. They're going to move forward with a share issue. They'll purchase shares through that because that money goes straight to the club. There'll be facilities for people, wealthy investors like your two selves, to invest straight directly into the club. And then when they put their lot in the new consortium, that'll take them to that elusive 51%. So that's my understanding of how it's going to work. So I get it. The statement that came out yesterday, initially I thought it was clickbait, and then obviously it's just confirmed the talks are progressing. It confirms that we already knew in some respects, Port Bear, but it's all, I suppose it's always good to see it in black and white. It's not done till it's done, but it looks pretty close, doesn't it?
I think what for me yesterday is the stories were sort of breaking. I think the Kevin Thelwell appointment, director of football, mate. This made me a bit more excited because I'll tell you why. I don't think the current regime, or sorry, the new regime, would have okayed a move like that. Without having some sort of input to a guy of that importance, a director of football with a lot of experience. I don't think that sort of position would have been filled without some sort of input from them, mate. So I think it is closer than we think. And I think over the next few weeks to months, again, it's time for Rangers fans to start enjoying this. And now that it's been finalised, GB touched on, we can start to get really excited now. So much for a fake over, Oxdear.
Yeah, of course. There's been a lot of fake news for certain people. I might be a bit worried, but that's another subject, you know what I mean? But look, only time will tell. Yeah, and you have to get your recruitment right. You have to build a football team, as Albert's always going on about, GB. You need to get a blend. You need to get, it's not just buying the best players possible. The best players possible don't always make your best team. So we've still got issues to overcome and get it right. But things are looking positive, and there's a chance for people to get involved financially. Yeah, as shareholders, maybe even a younger generation that were maybe involved in the last share issue, which I think was 2015. Yeah, I'll go check that out. I think, yeah, and be part of the ownership of the club. Yeah, you've got very little say, but it's an emotional tie that you can't take away. And look, if you want, you can do it. If you can't, you can't. People's lives are different, circumstances are different, but there'll be an opportunity to put money directly into the club, and you get a tangible investment for it. And if we get it right, you've made an investment which will go up in business, up in value. But I don't think the supporters do that. Yeah, they want it to be successful and go up in value because it's the club, because that means the club will be successful. But I think most people, GB, it would be an emotional purchase rather than an investment.
IOX, yep. It's just that way to get that wee bit to say that you're a part of the actual club, where like you say, your shares and stuff like that. I know we're all a part in the sense that we can go and buy merchandise and that, and buy our season tickets, my shares and stuff. But like I says, shares is a big thing. Like it says, you're like Bridgeman, you're entitled to go and listen to all the meetings and stuff like that as well. So I think it's a good thing. It's a very smart way of getting money into the club box. When I think they've already said the previous board is fatigued with the amount of investment they've already done, and we are, like you say, we're needing a part rebuild in the summer, where we're needing investment in the club to do that with the financial fair play. So things are moving. Ox, the director of football's in. We seem to be making appointments as well. We've seen I think the communication officer guy was appointed as well. One with Patrick Stewart back in January. So like we're hiring proper people that know what they're doing. Ox, now it's not just like kind of promoting within, giving somebody a chance to grow into a role. We're actually getting a guy that knows the role, and we've seen how well that.
Oh, sorry, GB, carry on, mate.
We've seen how well that worked with Mark Allen back in the time when Gerrard came in, Ox, when we got a proper professional director of football. Signings were really good and solid, and it worked really well for us going forward. So I'm hoping for the same for the new director of football.
Yeah, you need a bit of luck, mate. You need a bit of luck. Port Bear.
Aye, I've done a wee bit of digging about new director of football today, mate. Kevin Tillwell, a wee bit of experience with him, 3 years at Everton, and he took Everton over when they were on their knees, mate, and financially weren't in the best position. Man, his first job was to basically cut the wage bill there, to try and get him back into a better financial state. He arranged big signings. They had some assets in the team, not a lot, but they had some big assets. Anthony Gordon, who they got lots of money for Newcastle. Then they also moved the boy Andrea Nana to Aston Villa again. Negotiated a great deal for Everton to get money back into the club, and this is including along with big stadium build that they're competing with as well, mate, which took a lot of funds at the club. We know they've been fearing about the relegation zone for a long time next year, but that wasn't entirely his fault. That was down to Mosney, the owner, was determined to build this stadium, which took a lot of finance away for the director of football to go and buy better players, mate. But even at Red Bull, New York Red Bull and MLS, a lot of experience there. And then even when he was at Wolves, when they were having their good times under the current Nottingham Forest manager, Spirito Santo, he done a great job there finding players, mate. So everybody knows what the transfer market's like. Oxjay, you need a lot of luck in it. I'm interested to see what his philosophy is going to be going forward, and another thing that I think they'll be looking at already, mate, with the director of football. Don't be surprised if the next appointment will be our manager.
Right, you have mentioned that. Right, who wants to go first? Toss the coin. GB, heads or tails?
Heads.
Unlucky, mate.
That's mixed.
That's that two-sided coin again, mate.
I know. Somebody Batman that.
I know a penalty kicks, you'd always go first like me. Port Bear, take the ball, walk up, score, yeah?
Yeah, we tap corner, mate, every day of the week. Yeah.
No. Bottom left, mate, every time.
Is that your favourite, is it?
Yeah. Sometimes I back. Sometimes I backheel it in, mate.
Aye.
Did you do the wee Tav run up box?
No, that was too much energy. That was too much energy, mate. You know. No. Right, okay. Oh, you know what the question's going to be, Port? Who's the manager?
You saying we touched? Am I going to? You want my opinion? Who I think?
You're first.
Right?
You're first. You're the hot
Right.
seat, so we can
Right.
either laugh at you or we can.
So yeah, I'm going to. It's well documented, mate, who I would love to see at the club. And I'm going to go. You might be surprised by this, mate, but I would love to see Jose Mourinho at Glasgow Rangers, mate. And I've got my reasons for it.
We'll come back to that, mate. We'll come
Yeah.
back. GB, now you fell off your seat, mate. Yeah.
Well, by the way, at least the whatever manager we bring in and what we spend on him doesn't come out the financial fair play. So, if they can shoot the moon, Ox, go for it. I mean, the bookies odds, Ox, is obviously sitting.
No. Don't use this political spin. We're not interested in bookies odds. We want GB's odds.
Well, I'm getting to that, but what I mean is, with Stevie G being in the driving seat according to the bookies, I think I can remember back when Stevie G was appointed and he was nowhere near the bookies odds for next Rangers manager until the word got out, basically. So for me, I don't think it's got to be Stevie G. I think we're maybe looking at a total unknown, Hawks. I think.
That's a shame with that tattoo. You're just going to get it again,
I know, mate. I know. I wouldn't be opposed to him coming back, Ox, but I just feel as though it wouldn't be the same. And I wouldn't want him to tar the 55 thing. You know what I mean? But I'm hoping for somebody with fresh ideas. I seen the whole thing with the Leeds possibly sacking that Daniel Farker. If they're willing to go for a new Premier League manager, I would take him, Ox. I would take a guy like that that plays good attacking football and is well drilled. I mean, they've got a system of play. I'm hoping for something like that.
I've read a wee bit of the Leeds stuff, mate, and what Daniel Farker's done great with getting teams up. Yeah, he's done it a couple of times with Norwich, mate, and it's no worked. You know, there's certain guys have got levels of that. So listen, he's always a good coach, you know, and he's got teams up. And that's his job, and he's done it, and he's been successful. So, doff your hat. But listen, mate, you're entitled to your opinion, yeah? Yeah, you know, and they're two different calls. What do you think of Port Bear's opinion? And then I'll get my Port Bear's opinion on yours. On you go, GB.
Mourinho, I think, would get his titles, Ox. I definitely do. I think he would get in as long as he had the backing and had good investment behind him. The only thing that worries me about Mourinho is it seems to be he's like the first season always ends up, it all blows up and it's all a big fallout and stuff like that. But I think most days maybe would take that just to get a couple of titles in the back, Ox. So, but I just think it's an expense. I just don't know whether our new investors are willing to spend that sort of money the new Ox. They might just want something steady Eddie, the new to just build, and then eventually maybe we'll see something like a Jose Mourinho in time.
Listen, the guy's pedigree is obvious. I just think it could turn into a big circus. But I get Port, if you're talking about somebody building a team, but Port, he's always been supported with big bucks, mate, yeah.
Mate, but you know, I think he's at his time in his career, mate, when you know, I'm not saying he's not in a position to ask for big money next year. He clearly won't be at some other top teams in Europe, right? But where he's at in his career, you know, I think he'd be absolutely blockbuster for our league. I think he would raise the profile of the league. I think he'd, you know, lift us to again the next level as a club. Right, I get what understand what he's all saying in regards to it could turn into a circus, but I just think he'd be blockbuster, mate, when it came to, you know, TV, you know, interviews by the media and stuff. He wouldn't stand for any nonsense, you know, he wouldn't get thrown into a lot of stuff. I know he did say he shoots for the hip and he wears his heart on his sleeve, but that's what I like next year. I want a guy to come in with an aura about him that's going to demand, you know, success and demand, you know, respect immediately. And that's the sort of guy that I think that he is. And a lot of people are going to polish it with doing in a sense that his football, isn't probably, let's just say, forward thinking. I think he's always been a manager that's had quite a strong team at the back, good strong midfielders. But would that be such a bad thing in Scotland next year? I think he gets the size of the club. I think he understands who Rangers are. And just a couple of wee things he said in his interview with Fenerbahce, I don't think it's out the realms of possibility, mate, especially, as I said, if we can get the new regime to bankroll it, then, like Gary says, why not shoot for the moon, mate? Why not shoot for the moon? Because I definitely think he would raise his profile of the league.
Right. What do you take GB's choice? Which is a wee left field, yeah?
Yeah, Daniel Farke, as you said, well known in regards to getting teams promoted from the Premier League. Once he gets to the Premier League, he was sacked after 15 games with Leeds because they only won 5 at the first, I think. Put it this way, I think he had 11 points, mate, in the first 15 games or something like that. So he didn't get after the greatest of starts, and obviously Leeds didn't want to get relegated, so they tried to move him on and get somebody else in. And it was the same with Norwich. He just never quite cut the mustard. But I don't blame him for that next year. That's due to finances and due to getting not the right amount of finances to the Premier League. So I don't think it was all Farker's fault. But I'm like, guys, I think Daniel Farker's football is superb to watch. Forward thinking, quick, typical German, mate. I think he's got that efficiency and that typical German schooling when it comes to coaching, mate. Because I've enjoyed watching Norwich playing at times when he was there. I've certainly enjoyed watching Leeds when he's been there as well, mate. So it's not something I'm opposed to. It's not something I'm opposed to.
I've got the title of the movie for you, GB.
What's that?
Meet the Farkers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else there. Ox, what do you think about it? Would you like that kind of manager at our club? Because it's got to be interesting how if the director of football's got a say in this manager coming in, because we are a bit down the road. I think I've got a feeling that the manager's already teed up, so I don't think the director of football's going to have much of a say in it.
I think there's been conversations going on for a long time, and people have been doing their homework, and there might have been half a dozen people sounded out. We don't know, mate. We can speculate on what we want. Look, the names you mentioned are all decent names in football, for different reasons. Farker, you're right. Championship, getting teams promoted. Done well, progressive with his football. By the way, talking about progressive football, have a look at the goal Arsenal conceded last night. I think goals in front of the 2 centre halves. Did you see it? What?
No, I didn't, mate. I did not.
Oh, have a look, mate. Mate. It's just mental, man. The game's just went crazy. Yeah. I can imagine John Wallace when they just went and put one on his chin and he just walked back to the dugout again. You know what I mean? It's just the goalkeeper's 20 years for his goal playing in front of the 2 centre halves and messed about with the ball. I just don't know, mate. I don't know. But anyway, they're all big names. You've mentioned Marino, who's been speculated in the press. You've mentioned Farquhar, who's quiet talk. Obviously, that's came to light with Leeds. I maybe making a decision. We don't know if that's speculation. So we'll say that we'll give the boy the benefit of the doubt. He's no free and he gets to go at that. So that man could be the equation. Stevie G's knowing a job is now. So it's a fix. It's been speculated on in the movie. The owners and the director of football need to get people in they can trust. What do I want? I want somebody who can put a winning team on the football park, a winning team domestically, and a winning team in Europe. And competes in the latter stages. We're not going to say that the guy's going to come in. But whoever that is, he's going to need players, because we need some players, and he's going to need some backing. And it looks as if he's going to get the backing for the support again and the investors, yeah. Because the support will be digging deep again. Let's be honest about it. So I just want a winner. And my preference traditionally, if I'm honest, for our club would be a British manager. And if I'm really honest, it would traditionally have been a Scottish manager. However, that's not always possible because there's no an obvious candidate, GB.
No, Hawks. And again, along with the kind of British managers, there's no a lot jumping out there either, isn't there? They're either in top jobs or, like I says, you're maybe going down the route. Like Sean Dyche was mentioned last night and stuff like that, but I don't know. Like, I think he would be. I think he would actually do all right in our league because he's fit by style of football and stuff like that. But I just don't know. I'm just wanting. I'm wanting back to that 3-4.
If you compare Sean Dyche's managerial career to Stevie G, he's got a lot more experience, Port, isn't he?
Aye, definitely. That's one thing. Sean Dyche has got a lot of experience, and when he was at Burnley, a lot of people maybe think his football's not the greatest to watch, but another thing he managed to do pretty regularly was get Burnley back to the Premier League and then kept them with a bit of consistency. Yeah, they were back down, mate, but even the last season when they saved Everton on the last day of the season for going down, mate. So I said he's got a style of football that maybe isn't pleasing on the eye, but I get what Gaz is touching on. For our league, he would certainly build a robust team that he'd be demanding a lot of for our league. So again, it's a shout that could be possible. Again, not a job. I don't think he'd be demanding big wages.
I don't think it would be a glamour appointment that someone asking for, mate.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying, because we're all listening to the names we've thrown in already. We're even, Rafa Benitez was mentioned a few weeks ago as well. Again, not opposed to that either. Successful manager, won leagues in several different countries. That sort of appointment is what we want. We want to see an appointment at that level next year because, we always want the best, which for Rangers, but so far the appointments have been mentioned. I wouldn't be opposed to any of them, mate, as long as I see progression. Like I keep saying on the show, this could be a 2-year project in the early part of next year. So, I ask for patience, and whatever philosophy that we go down with the new director of football, let's be patient and let's just get behind whoever they appoint. But like I said, Mourinho would be my first choice, mate.
If you look at this year's campaign, the inconsistency is bizarre. And if we'd have beat the teams below us, mate, which we should be doing, mate, and the manager does that and we get the form against the teammates above us, mate, we've won the league. So that's what you've got to do, mate. It's got to get a level of consistency. So the manager has to come in for day one and hit the ground running. Win football matches domestically and see where it takes us in Europe.
Yeah,
it's because if you're winning domestically, the pressure comes off you for the support for the European ties. Yeah, of course, I recognise, GB, the financial aspects of European football and all that. Yeah.
You get time, Ox. That's the thing. See if you're showing a bit of consistency. That's how Gerrard got his time. That's how, I know that come the end of the second season, folk were like, we need to maybe look for a change, but we stuck with it. We weren't marching up to outside Ibrox calling for change and stuff like that. We knew that there was something there with him, and we knew it for day one, Ox. Just like you says, he showed it in Europe. And then, like I says, showed that wee bit of consistency in the league. We had our kind of wee bumps, but I think we all accepted that was going to happen, especially when he was building the team in the first season. Second season, we just kind of fell away after that winter break again. But then, like I says, eventually he got there and that team carried us right through to practically Seville, to be honest. And then, unfortunately, we as a club just started ripping it all up when probably at a time we should have been keeping hold of what we could have and then built round about it again. But we're too much of a basket case, Ox, and we've lost all that now. And whoever comes back in is going to have to try and get it all back again. I know there's players in that squad that we could probably take ways into this next summer, but I think, like I says, the manager's got a big job on his hands to get it right. And there's the next question, Ox, like how much I say is this next manager going to have on what players come into the club? Is the director of football going to have the final say, and he's going to be like a kind of coach? He's got to walk into the training centre one day and there's got to be a player sitting there waiting for him.
The manager should never have the final say about who comes into a football club, because ultimately It's no him that pays the wages and him that does all the recruitment. Managers will always want more players, always. Yeah, but obviously you're going to have to move players on, and that's really hard, mate. Because if you feel as if you need a number 9, and you've got 3 there, and the board say to you, yeah, you can get it, Joe Bloggs, but you need to get rid of Port Bear to bring in Joe Bloggs. Yeah, it's not always that easy, Port, is it?
No, mate, it's one of the toughest, sort of parts in football is to get players that are on decent wages out of your club, because if their form's been, and I'm going to go and use 2 examples here, say we're talking, say, to Spurs Yali, who bought decent money, somebody try to move him on, speaking to his agent, and him knowing he's not going to get maybe the same wages as at Rangers, maybe to a step backward to go forward. He's going to want to just sit, mate, and see certainly in the next 2 years his contract to get the money he's got. If he's not been offered the money, he's wanting, mate. So it is difficult. It's really difficult.
Yeah. Look, everybody thinks that football players want to play, and I think the majority of them do, but they're not still going to walk away for a couple of million quid. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Ajax.
I
know.
If that's the difference, no, and that's going to be the hard bit. But I think if you get the appointment right, some players will go naturally, and if you get it right, and the club's getting and financially thriving, you can make deals to get rid of players, and I think the glamour names that you have mentioned, I think helps with recruitment. You might some people want to play for them, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting. It's going to give us loads to talk about, and we do need to sign a lot of players. But we need to get some players out the door. Some people are going to go naturally, Porter.
Aye, they will. Like a Tom Lawrence, there's guys in the final sort of months of their contracts. That's just natural progression. They'll go and and go somewhere else in another career. But there's another wee sort of positive note on a new manager coming next year. Sometimes a new set of lugs about the training ground, about the club. So I've seen this happen before, where you think a player's get out the door, and before you know it, he's got a manager that really buys into him and trusts him, and he's got a pre-season under the new manager. And we've not seen Bergkamp with a full pre-season under him yet, mate. And that's one thing my criticism was all last season. I didn't think the team looked fit enough. So sometimes just that new manager, that new face off, the new set of ears about the club can drive a player that's had a slow start. Like I touched on earlier on, there's players.
I'll cut across you. Even before we've opened the phone lines, we'll be joined by David. Evening, David.
Evening, guys. Evening, guys.
How you doing, mate?
I'm doing fine. I just wanted to bring up, I think whoever the next manager is going to be, I think it's going to be a show of what the 49ers are thinking about doing. If it's going to be a big name, the 2 names are linked in the bookies' favourites are Mourinho and Gerrard. I think both of those would suit me, but I think if they're going to try to get the Champions League straight away, it's going to have to be a big name, I think. And I think it would go to show what the 49ers are willing to do to try and get us back to where we belong in one season. But I don't think it's going to be that simple. It's going to take a wee while to sort everything that's been wrong for so many years under the Park brothers.
With the greatest of respect, we've got to watch it. The Douglas and his boy have been part of a lot of people, mate. It's not just been them, mate. Yeah, it's not just been them. There's been a lot of people, and collectively, I think they've admitted that they know, without saying it, that they've made errors and they need many other people to help. But it's not just been them, mate. There's been a lot of collectives and people have got things wrong. In hindsight, and we've got to watch that we don't. People start getting accused of things they've not done, mate. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because these guys have put in millions and millions of pounds to a club and their own money. Yeah, Some of them are going to get some of it back. Yeah, some of them are going to, after shareholding, they're going to see their investment diluted because there's going to be another shareholding. So they need to be fair, but they just couldn't get us to the next level. Ultimately, people have said they're fair, but you've got to watch that we don't say things that aren't true and taint people's legacy. Yeah, it's failed because the team's not winning. Yeah, but it's not been for the one of trying. Port Bear.
Aye, there's I think one of the worst things, Davey, it's crippled our club has been, the board's right. They've for me they've done Dave King and all the boys that went there and put money at their own pockets at times to keep our club where it is today. All right, like I touched on before, the clubs they are financially tired now. Maybe they just reached that ceiling to how far they can take the club. But what's really damaged the club, in my opinion, is there's guys there like Ross Wilson who bought players. Yeah, we made some money off some. Too many manager appointments for me as well. The constant rebuilds. Bill was given the keys at Ibrox and more or less let do what he wanted. And I think that put us back about 3 to 4 seasons. What happened when Bill came in, mate? So the last person I'd be throwing blame at is any of the current board members. But I think a lot of bad decisions in football in terms, i.e. from managers, directors of football, Ross Wilson, etc. All that. I think that's all became part to where we're at today. The next man is going to be our 20th manager, and that's something that I was never brought up on. Manager after manager after manager. It was almost like an honour to become Rangers manager, and that's why they were always few and far between. And now we're about to appoint my 20th. So I think it's been a lot more than what's happened, David. But fair point, mate. Fair point.
I'm not saying it's been a success, David, because obviously you judge it with results. On the football partner, it hasn't been a success, and a lot of errors have been made. I recognise that. GB, then we'll bring David back in, and then we'll have a jingle. When you go, GB?
Hi, David. Thanks for phoning in, mate. A good point. It'd be interesting to find out if we could rewind back the clock to that summer after winning 55, what the discussions were in the boardroom and stuff like that, mate. Whether they would have made a different choice back then, or whether it was time to sell some players and Gerrard would have just had to suck it up that summer. You know what I mean? So I think, like I say, there's just, unfortunately for us, it's the same old. We just kind of we make life hard for ourselves when really we probably should have secured another title right after 55, mate. But unfortunately, the way things have went, we've paid the price for it, and I think everybody knows that, especially with the stadium and stuff like that, the debacle of that in the summer. I think that was the final straw for the board, mate. I think most of them just went like, nah, we're out our depth here. We need to find proper professionals to come in and run this club now. And take them to the next level. And I think with these new guys coming in, they know people, mate. I think you'll see right away that the people that we've got in place have been in their roles a long, long time, and they know what they're doing, mate. So hopefully it's onwards and upwards.
On you go, David. Always get a right to reply, mate.
For me, success and failure always starts at the top. Who hired Michael Beale? Who hired Philip Clement? Who hired the scouts? Who hired Neil? Who hired the guy that was scouting the players beforehand? I'm not saying they done it deliberately. I genuinely do believe they were trying their best to do things, but it's just too many failures. And after 55, it just seemed as if that a kind of that'll do mentality, and obviously we've stopped them get to 10 with this team. Well, that's fine. We don't need to improve the team. We'll do this team for another 3 or 4 years, and then we'll think about it then. And it's just can kick down the road until we've landed here. And another season without a trophy, European run covering our blushes, but it's finally good to get somebody in that seems to know what they're doing. I think that guy for Everton's came in. That's already one of the best appointments in the background that we've had in years. So the future is looking good, but it's all well and good flinging money at things if it's not done properly, like it was not done previously, it's a waste of time flinging money at things.
Some people would argue the mistake was that we supported some of the managers too much, mate. You know, if it was true that the offers were there, and it is an if for Morelos and Kent after 55. Well, in hindsight, we should have took them. And because we just announced a £23 million loss during COVID, like every football club was dead. So we had to be sensible, but we maybe backed the managers too much at times. And by the way, I get that some of the people, Michael Beale was a strange one. No experience, 28 games at QPR, and you get the Rangers job. Nah, not for me. Not for me. I know Gerrard had to manage before he came in the door, but you're talking two different things. You're talking about a football icon against a guy who was a coach at Rangers and then Aston Villa, 28 games, and wasn't that successful. Really started okay, and the wheels had come off at QPR, and we gave him a job at Ibrox. Not for me, and it's nothing against Michael Beale the person, but he didn't have the CV to have a go at getting the Rangers job at that time. Maybe 3 or 4 years later, and he found his own path in football. Maybe, aye, but he hadn't. And again, that's my humble opinion. Before we get the phone lines open.
Aye, that's what I touched on, mate. I think, as I said, Davy's right. You know, it does start from the top, but you just can't. All I'm saying is you just can't pinpoint the blame on one person. You know what I mean? And this is why I keep saying it's absolutely crucial, here, really, really crucial, that the full due diligence is done on this next appointment. We can't have, you know, another project manager, a young up-and-come manager. We can't have someone that's, you know, so far that, or he may have a lot of experience, but his football is a way back to dark ages. But just it has to be a guy that has to be perfect, mate. And so far, you know, I said I can't prove it, but I like to think that the current, you know, regime has done their, you know, homework and been involved in my new director of football's appointment. And like you touched on earlier, I think everything, a lot of cogs and wheels getting turned behind the scenes, Oxford, that we're not privy to, and they will be. But these guys, because we can't stand still, because the Champions League qualifiers, Oxford, like, are 90 days away, if I'm right. So we can't be standing still and not planning nothing when these qualifiers are coming around the corner, mate.
Yeah, okay, right, okay, David, just hang on, we'll come right back to you, but let's get the phone lines open. Let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, there's no guarantee, mate. The trouble with football, it's not planning for other businesses. You can send the best two centre halves that you think you've got that are available, mate. They can run into each other in the first game, about for 6 weeks. You know, it's crazy. You know, like sport. I mean, if you think about it, invest in sport is actually mental. The actual game itself, know the product, because there's no guarantees, mate. You know, people break their legs, people get injured. You bring in a £6 million guy from Turkey, does his hamstring in, and you don't see him for 8-9 months. And you're paying him for the league you're in, you're paying absolute fortunes. You know, there's no guarantees, David.
I do understand what you're saying, but if you're looking across the back of this, the backroom stuff and all the stuff that goes in the back, are we currently set up for success? It's been like donkey's years since we produced a regular first team player for the youth academy. Injuries have just hit us like a brick wall every single season. I genuinely think there's something not right there, and it needs to have some sort of outfield investigation into that, because we can't be going like 6-7 players down at one time, and it not have somebody with some medical reason. The players that have been bought, you can make arguments for each of them, but if are we hand in heart, are we saying that most of them are good enough for Rangers? If we're honest, no. We've not got backups for them either. We've basically got two right backs. One of them's injury prone, and one of them's nearly 40-year-old. Got two left backs. One of them's injury prone, and one of them's inexperienced. Got 4 centre backs. 2 of them are young. One of them can't not get any strength, and one of them's injury prone. It's the way that it's been set up for me is just weird. That you're taking risks on players that are good. Suter, for instance, but he is injury prone. Let's be honest. And you're taking. It seems as if it's not been well thought out enough for me.
I get it. I mean, when I watched Robin proper play this season, and he has some decent games at times, particularly in Europe, but when I watched him domestically, you think, what did we see when we signed him? I understand your point, David. GB.
David, it's been a bit of a basket case at times.
What did you say there, GB?
A basket case. Because I was thinking about proper, I was ready to say bees or something there, but
yellow card.
Yeah, I know. Proper. I heard you say last night, Ox. By the way, it wouldn't be a bad shout, like keeping him as the backup centre back going into next season, because like you says, we can't tear it all up, and with Balogun possibly hanging up his boots this season, then that's it. I don't think Proper's like the main issue of Rangers team now. So I think like David's touching on, we really need to get a manager in that's got a style of play, and we just don't go and keep buying like it's like the shiny new toy into it. It's like oh there's a good winger, just buy him. Aye, but you're maybe buying him into a team that doesn't suit a winger. I mean, it's the same way, like, say, our strikers. We've got Danilo, we've got Igerman, and we've got Dessers. None of them can play, like, in a 2 or a, like, we've tried to play Igerman out in the left and all that. We can't have that carry on. We need to make sure that we're buying players for the purpose that they're going to score goals or the most damage. We can't keep just buying guys and just trying to fit them in a team.
Listen, if I was driving a few of them in the airport, it wouldn't be a taxi, it'd be a minibus, and Proper would be on that minibus. Just me, mate. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, guys, but, you know, like guys touched on, Oxshire, not everybody can leave. And Proper's just signed a contract. He's only been at the club, I think we signed him in January. So he's 6 months he's been there. As you look at times in the Scottish League,
last summer he's a year into a 3-year contract.
Is it a year in, mate? Sorry. Right, so basically, you know, he's still a year into his a contract. And like I said, there's other players turned it around next year. There's other players that says a new coach has come in and the ideas sink in. He prefers that style of football. And you could have a Rickson moment, you could have a Mark Catley moment, mate, where he becomes and gets it, and finally, you know, he gets the league.
Yeah, but they were a lot younger at the time when they hit the run.
Granted, mate. Granted. But, you know, I'm with GB on this a wee bit, mate. I just don't think you can have a full clear out. I think there's got to be some consistency kept in the squad, you know, that can help integrate players that's currently there, mate. But as I said, if you're going to rip it up and get rid of everything, then, like I keep saying, mate, then we need to be patient then, because don't expect a team or a manager to come in and wave, you know, a magic wand and expect it, you know, this team to hit the ground running, because as I said earlier on, I feel Oxford we're still, I think we're behind the 8 ball going into the season already, because and then it's no fault of our own. The regime and the takeover, I know these things take a lot of time, mate, and there's, you know, a lot of T's to be crossed and a lot of dots to be, a lot of I's to be dotted, you know, so but we're behind the 8 ball already, mate, in my opinion.
And you come, David.
I've got a fair idea why Propper was bought, but maybe I'm wrong. I think Propper was bought because he was the captain at SU20 and he gave the team a wee bit more. The idea was it's supposed to give the team a wee bit more leadership and knowledge in Europe and things like that. But it's just, for me, he's no strong enough. Is he the worst player at Rangers? No, but he's a symptom of what's wrong and what's been going on with the transfer calls the last couple of years. I think it's just, for me, there's Niels Coppin has done okay. He's both Diamandi's okay. Igamani, he's going to go on to bigger and better things in Rangers eventually. There are some players that you can build a team around. It's the same thing as last year. I'm worried that people that have been in that team too long are just going to poison the well for the new players that are coming in. I do respect Tav and everything that he's done for us. I cannot see him another season at Rangers and getting another manager the sack. I'm not saying he's one of the ills of the team. I don't feel as if he's the guy to lead us forward into this next era for Rangers.
I mean, I think if you take Tav out of the equation, Haji's going to go. I don't think there's anybody left for the Stevie G era. I've a chat in my head. I might be Butland, Kelly. I know he's been about the club and left and come back. Yeah, Stirling, Beale, Suter. I suppose Balogun, but he's going to go. You've got Redvan. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anybody for the Stevie G era, which was only 4 years ago, which is pretty remarkable. You know, you'd be long serving if you're there 2 years. At the moment, listen, David, there's going to be a lot of changes. There's guys that you like, guys that I don't like, players, and everybody sees the game slightly different. I think the first we need 2 centre halves, and people will say we need a goalie, and they get another goalie, and we have to get one of them out the door. Yeah, and I think we know who that would be, GB.
Get who at the door, Fox?
One of the goalies.
Butland. I tell you, I mean, he's an ideal signing for teams down south if they're wanting that homegrown quota, Ox. But again, he's got to be another toughie to get out the door if the new manager does fancy him. I mean, he's on big wages, isn't he? Hopefully, I think because he's had a taste of being a number one, Ox, that if the new manager does decide that he's not the man for it, that Butland will want to go and get first team fit back because he's had it again, rather than go back to the playing like kind of the third backup goalkeeper. I mean, I do love and hope that he maybe turn it round, Ox, that he does become the keeper that we first seen when he came in. But for what folk have told was about like his time at Stoke and stuff like that, and even the Crystal Palace, that he did have these moments where he would just go totally off the boil for a period of time. And unfortunately, you were talking about it at the start of the show, consistency. It starts at the back, mate, and we need consistency. We need a keeper to turn out really good performances week in, week out, to give the defence that confidence to help the players in front of them.
Listen, mate, goalkeepers will lose goals. Yeah, goalkeepers there'll be shots. But the problem with Jack I think it's about 13, 14 months. It's clangers all bear, isn't it? All bear, sorry about that. Port Bear, sorry, apologise. Port Bear.
I know what he's mate. I know, Mold, I know that. I know it's been high. Some of them have been high profile mistakes last year. Some of them were in big matches, and it's bad enough making a mistake as a goalkeeper because you've never to turn. You're a centre half, you've always got a goalkeeper. You can maybe dig you a hole. If you're midfield, you've got defenders behind you, can dig you a hole, so on and so forth. But when you're that final layer of defence, and it's went through you. You fumbled it, whatever it may be, mate. There's no hiding place. There's no hiding place, mate. And they have to dig him and think about that for days, because he'll know more than us, Oxshire. He used to keep quite a lot of them saves out of that goal, and there's been some, as I said, mate, he has been totally at fault for some of the clangers, and it's hard for a goalkeeper, to take over some of them, because, as I said, there's no hiding place, in my opinion, for a goalkeeper, mate.
It's going to be interesting how we move players on, what the policy is, what they think, what they seem the things the same as a lot of the support. Do they see it different? Do they want stability? Is it going to be 3 or 4 players? I don't know. I think we need about 8 first team players in the door, David. 8. Yeah, in the door. Yeah, guys that are first team players. No projects, no, we used the term last night, govern ready. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the only nailed on staying on next year is Raskin, Diamande, Darren, and Igamani. The rest of it's up in the air for me. I said it a wee while ago. We see the thing with Jack Butland. Once you see that he can't do things with his hands, you can't unsee it. It's always been a problem in his career. That's how come he never throws the ball, he never drops and punts the ball, and he's quite prone to making mistakes with his hands to put the ball in his own net. And that's a big problem for Jack Butland. Liam Kelly, would he have done better throughout the season? It's arguable, because the defence has changed more times than I changed results. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable the defence changes we went through. So it is partly that's not all Jack Butland's fault, but he's not helped himself out either. I think the biggest thing for me that's been changed is the striking situation. I do love Dessers, but is he the guy? Again, I say that all the time. Is he the guy to lead us forward into this new era? For me, no. You need somebody to hold the blood up for Igamani, somebody to help put the ball away for him as well. But it's all dependent on who's coming in. What's this new manager style of play? What's the philosophy, etc., etc. Or it could be completely different. Maybe Dessers completely fits into this guy, new manager's formation. Maybe Dessers is his ideal guy. It's all up in the air until we know who the manager's going to be. And I would say we're starting to get maybe a wee bit of a sense of who it's going to be, because the players that are getting linked with us now are obviously the manager that's going to be coming in will be having some sort of say in that. So we can
Who's
maybe try and...
Who's coming in then, David? Who's coming in?
Well, we know Lyle Cameron's coming in next season.
What manager's coming in?
If I was to put all my money on it, I would say it's more likely to be Gerrard. That's what I would put all my money on. I would say it's more likely to be Gerrard or somebody that we've no photo yet. It's not going to be Mourinho. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be Mourinho. You're wasting your money putting a bet on Mourinho coming in. It's either going to be Gerrard or somebody with no photo that fits in with the 49ers philosophy.
Port Bear.
Hey, Steven Gerrard, mate. Steven Gerrard. Appreciate everything he did during his time, mate. Got 55. But my biggest problem with Steven Gerrard, mate, is his backroom staff. He's had the same backroom staff at Aston Villa, and then eventually, when he was at Etifac, he brought the man that left our club, the car salesman, and eventually brought him to Etifac, and eventually both of them together again, and they got the punt. So, unless Steven Gerrard has a major shake-up, mate, and a brand new backroom staff, then I think that's a no-go for me. Another wee name that I would probably like to see at the club as well. Again, his stock's on the downward turn because of 2 previous jobs he had at Dortmund and Frankfurt. Marco Rosa, the German. I just like that style of football, Oxford. But again, that one's a bit left field. I know he's mentioned in one of the bookies' favourites, but maybe that'll be the choice, Oxford. Maybe it will be somebody like David's touching on that will come right out of the blue that we've not even thought about, like a Marco Rosa or a Daniel Farke. I seen there's been some talk in English papers in regards, Farke, that the 49ers consortium are actually looking at his previous time in the Premier League, and they're thinking, whether to allow him to take Leeds into the new Premier League season. So maybe that could happen, actually. Maybe they'll go to him and say, look, we're not going to take Leeds this season, but what about this project? A big
But how
club.
could they battle in Europe, mate? We don't know about his experience in Europe, yeah?
No, we don't, mate. We don't, mate. But maybe that will be important in the first season next year. And I get, what I always say, I want to get back to domestic dominance. Maybe it'll just be important to consolidate and get a right good fight going back to winning more domestic trophies next year, the first year. You know what I mean? I get the financial aspect of European football, mate, but I think it would still be great to go and, say, get back to winning ways, winning that league, or winning a trophy in Farke's first year. And this is an example, but this is just me talking in hindsight, right? Maybe the 49ers just won't be, all out. Let's just consolidate a team, get a winning team on the park, get a formula that works and gets us exciting football Ibrox to watch, mate. Bums in seats, and then the rest will take care of itself. I always say this, mate. When you're domestic trophies and start qualifying for your Champions League regular, and the rest takes care of itself, mate. So, if it's a slow burner in the first 2 seasons, mate, to build this team to get it to winning ways, maybe Farke is your man, mate, because he can build a team. That's one thing we can't say about Daniel Farke. He can build a team next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I don't think so, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, GB, ain't they?
Aye, well, who knew about Steven Gerrard back in that time? I mean, he was just totally out the blue. How that came about. Obviously, you're saying earlier that there's probably been talks going on with that, so which it probably was a surprise with Dave King and all the rest of it. But for ourselves, I mean, seeing that ball started rolling, that he turned up to Ibrox and all the rest of it, that was one of the moments where you just felt as though we're back, Hawks, and I do hope we get that kind of same thing when it's like there's the director of football, and hopefully there's another announcement next week, and then something else the following week, and it just keeps building and building and building. You know what I mean? Because that momentum did help us that first season, Ox. That feel good factor just felt as though we could take them. We could take them across the city. Felt as though we could have a bit of steel about us again, that kind of bit of swagger. And I says for the names that I've mentioned there, I think all of them would be eager to try their talents out in the European Cup as well, the Europa League and the Champions League. I mean, it'll help their CV as well. So we are a big club, Box, and we've got a right good carrot to dangle in the European side as well, because they can add that to their CV, that they'll not get a chance at the likes of our Leeds, like say Everton's and all the rest of it, and Wolves, and some managers in Italy and all the rest of it. These guys, if they come to Rangers, there's guaranteed European football there most seasons. So it's a platform for them to build on there as well, plus, let's say, in the league to build titles. And as we've seen across the City Hawks, see, as long as you play, you're solid at the back and you've got good attacking football, you can blow most of this league away. It's just, like I says, you just need to recruit well.
Yeah, we've made a lot of mistakes. I mean, you can't deny that, and we've given money to people. I mean, Southside mentioned somebody, I forgot about him, if I'm honest, and how can we forget about him? He was underwhelming. Rabbi Matondo, I completely went off my radar. He's not a player. Earning fortunes. Yeah, I believe he's injured
Cortez
again
as well.
Aye, Cortez. I mean, I know, man, injured. I mean, listen, people can be unlucky. I get what I understand that, but it's really frustrating, David.
It's just the way it's happened for Rangers. That's just our luck recently, ever since 55. But always say you make your own luck. You try and build things for success, and we're just not, if we're honest with ourselves. I do think there are some players there that we can build a team around. It's just we don't know what that team's going to look like until the manager comes in. But I just wanted to say thanks very much for taking my call, lads. I'm going to head off. I hope you all have a great night.
Cheers, David.
David, thank you.
Yourself on mute, boys, because we're going to have a tune.
Tonight I dream about my maiden city. I'll go back to the days I spent there as a boy. I dream about the friends I left behind me in my city, Londonderry on the foil. Well, my mother, she writes to me here twice weekly, and she tells me all the things are going on, and she tells me of the bombings and the shootings in my city, Londonderry on the foil. But tonight I lie upon my bed, I'm dreaming. I am dreaming of the friends I left behind, and I dream about my sweetheart in the fountain in my city, Londonderry on the foil. But once more I'm coming home aboard the steamship. On Loch Foyle once more I'm passing by Culmore, and I see those old grey walls still firmly standing there round my city, Londonderry on the foil. I can see the old cathedral, it's still standing. I'm not far away, the old memorial hall, and I see the crimson banner, it's still flying over my city, Londonderry on the foil. Over my city, Londonderry on the foil.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Interesting points. Listen, I want a winner. Yeah, and it's not that easy. If it was all that easy, every team that spent the most money would win all the leagues, and it doesn't always pan out like that. But we know we've got pretty much a two-horse race, but we've got to beat all the other teams. Yeah.
Aye, because if we look back at the season so far, mate, they've not been the problem. The problem's been with everybody else. You go and you win the games that we class as, and I'm going to put this in inverted commas, your bread and butter games that we should win. Then we would have won the league this year, Oxford, because we've taken care of the biggest rivals, the greatest team in the world. We've taken care of them, and we've taken care of them quite dominantly at times. very unlucky in the final as well. We've had their number, in my opinion, for the last 3 games and done really, really well. So they've not been the problem next year, but you've touched on it, a lot of times. Cold nights, a Wednesday in Dingwall, doing it at St Mirren Park, St Mirren get a double on us, Hibs get a double on us. These are things we've not seen for a long, long number of years, mate. So these are the matches we have to get right. Win your domestic battles against the teams you're supposed to beat, mate. And then if form stays true for next season, then there'll be one winner of the league next year, and it should be us, because right now, so far under 2 different managers, we've had their number, mate. So it's not, the problem's not been with them across the road, mate. It's been everybody else in the league.
Yeah, and I think that brings in even more frustrations, GP, if we're honest.
It does, Ox, because we shouldn't be shown any respect to the rest of these wee teams. I mean, the games against Celtic and stuff like that, we went out there and showed them no respect, took the game right to them, and we got our just rewards for it. And yet, I feel as though, say, against Motherwell and St Mirren's and Aberdeen at times as well, that game up there, that just we were too scared, or we just sat back and allowed them to play their game rather than us just taking the game to them and showing no respect to them. And I think that's been the issue. So when they've been told that this is all firm, you need to go out and you need to battle and you need to make sure you win this game for the fans, the rest of it, they've went out and done that. And why they've not been able to take that mentality into the rest of the league and show them no respect and show that we're number one, I just can't understand it, Ox, because they've not got better players. For me, like most of these other squads in the league, they've definitely not got better players than us. It's just the way we've either been set up, Ox, or we've been dead, sometimes lazy at the back. And that's got to be a thing that ends come the summer, Ox, for me. Let's say, you can't have these moments, unfortunately, we have where he's sleepy at the back post and us care on. That I respect Tav for the services he gave us, but it's time to get back to the way we were under Stevie G, where a nice solid defence.
What happens if Stevie G comes in and makes Tav the captain for next year?
Well, I think he's making a rod for his own back, Ox, to be honest, because these same mistakes will come during a season again.
Tav's got that in his game, but I don't know if he's the biggest problem we've got. But come back to your point about the other teams, mate. There's been times where we've been out-coached, and I don't mean that as a disrespect.
100%.
Philip Clement, he was out-coached because we were that stubborn that people just set up to stop us, and then they were always bigger and maybe more physical. So you throw in the fact that we were bullied, it didn't matter if we had better players, because all they were doing was try to stop you, play for moments. They take their moments bizarrely, and we're struggling because they're then just big and strong and compact. But we've seen the movie, quite a lot of Ibrox.
At times, mate, we were the easiest team in the Premier League to play against, and they'll tell you the reasons why. They knew they could sit in for as long as they could and use set pieces, counter attacks against us. So they'd sit in, soak up all the pressure and hit the counter, or they would get the odd corner and they would get free kicks about the box, and they used it. They used it because they knew defensively we were very, very vulnerable. At corners and at set pieces, they were even using long throws against us because of how vulnerable we were. They knew we didn't have the fight, the character prior to Barry, which we've seen a bit of. And I just think we were very, very easy to set up against. And once they got their goal, then they knew again we as a so-called better team would have to come out. We'd have to come out and go for it. And more often than not, what happened? We get picked up again and they would go and get another one. This is happened at Munton, is at Ibrox that game, and doing it at Munton Park. That happened there. That happened twice against them where they got in lead. We're chasing the game, trying to get back in the game, and we get sucker punched.
We're goal with throwing goals in, mate. Yeah, I mean, some of the goals. The penalty at St Mirren that day down there. The second goal, he wasn't great neither. In the last, once we got the goal, I mean, we should have blown them away. But individual errors, massive, mate, massive. And the goalie, making mistakes, mate, has been a constant thread, mate.
And let's just add to it as well. Let's not put all the blame on Jack Butland, because he's got a another 10 players out there that should be part of that defensive unit. We always say this for youth football last year, we defend for the front. So your midfield should be doing jobs. Your defence should be doing jobs to protect Jack Butland as well. But ultimately, like I says, if it comes down to Jack throwing a ball in his net, Celtic Park punching into his net when we just get in front, etc. The ball that's driven low at him, he's doing knee behind the ball, and it basically goes through him again. That's down to him. That's clear individual error. But like I says, I'm not going to put all the blame on him, mate. He has made individual mistakes, but defensively, we've been found very, very wanting at times, mate. We've been far too soft. Like a soft centre, sweetie, mate. That's where we've been all season.
It's hard to disagree. I'd like to put a defence up for the defence, GB, but it's difficult, mate. And we've got some players that Suter's been one of our most consistent players. Then bang, he had an injury maybe at the right time. And we think you've got Sterling. You think, right, okay, he's definitely got physicality, pace. He could be an asset. Never fit. Jeffrey's shown potential, but he's also had bomb scare moments. Ridvan, he's had some decent games, particularly against them. He's not fit. He's injured again, And Balogun be brought in for covers, played far too many games, if we're honest. And the boy in Salah, he's learning his trade. I thought he did an excellent second half last week, but that means nothing. You've got to get that level of consistency. So we've been bullied and outpaced at times in defence, and in midfield we've definitely been bullied. At times you've watched it and you think Raskin has been the only guy that's been on there. Diamondi's shown great skills at times, and there's something about the boy, but we need somebody with a bit of physicality, a bit of bite, a bit of strength. I mean, I looked at briefly last night when the show finished. I just happened to catch the Crystal Palace, and you ought to see the size of their team. GB, I don't know if you picked up on it, but yeah, they've got a guy playing in midfield. He's a colossus, mate.
I did. Sorry,
Look at Fulham. No, you're right. Ox, you're right. And look at, say, Fulham as well with Big Bassey in amongst that there. It's all big boys, isn't it? It's a big, solid team.
Aye, you've got to be able to play. You've got to be able to play as well, mate.
Aye, mate. No, I agree, Ox. And by the way, we've done a good thing. We've brought in a Premier League director of football, mate. So hopefully he's got his eye on some players down there that are maybe out the plans. Let's face it, Moyes will be looking to put his stamp on that team as well come next season. I'm not saying we can go and match their transfer fees and stuff like that, but like I says, there'll be maybe boys out of contract, boys that he's maybe seen in the youth system. There'll be a Bassey kicking about. So the guy's had his ear to the ground, Ox, down there. You know what I mean? So we've got him for the right place. It's touted as one of the best leagues in the world. So I think hopefully he can work wonders in this transfer window as well, and help the manager, build that sturdy defence that we need again. And I think we've probably got players that we can build at the front, Ox. I think Danilo doesn't look as though he's in anybody's plans, and looks too injury prone as well. But
2 years into a contract, mate. Time to go.
If we can offload.
It's enough, mate.
But again, for him, he has had moments as well. He's had impact moments off the bench, like say against Celtic as well. Came off and scored his goal in that, Ox. So if he does hang about, then we can maybe see what the next manager can do with him. But like say Egerman, there's a team there that we could build round about and have a solid front. We don't have to go. I think if we just sort the defence, get, like you say, some bit more steel in that midfield, and cut out all this kind of naivety, like Barn with these kind of no-look passes and stuff like that, then if we get a proper couple of midfielders in amongst their Ox, then you might actually see a team.
It's going to be interesting, but it's getting the blend right also. Port Bear, and you come, mate.
Aye, look, you've heard me mention this, several times on the show. Scotland, in my opinion, mate, isn't it hard to try and work out what you need for a blend for success, right? If you look through the history of our club and some of the other clubs that's won titles in this league, they've had a blend of a decent core of Scottish players, as you said earlier, a British manager, and adding to that, we've added a bit of European flair. Your Brian Laudrups, Amorusos at times, the Dutch boys that all came during Advocaat's era, but there's always been that core element, guys that's been for Scotland, and we've always had guys that are robust, they've been a great physicality. We used to have great height, Murty, Big David McPherson, Richard Goff, all these sort of guys, Bomber Brown, etc. Hateley, even Duncan Ferguson, who I was looking so forward to when he got into the club. All players like that had a bit of pedigree, a bit of grit, a bit of fight, run through brick walls for you. As I say, mate, I don't think my league's, some sort of super league that you need to go and spend fortunes in to win. But if you get the blend right, mate, with guys that have got experience in the league, and then, as I said, even if you want to look into England for some players that know the British game, again, that style, and then add, as I said, that foreign flair, that technical ability that is hard to find in Scotland at times, that's just...
By the way, I don't know if you heard it last week during the game. It was a remarkable stat. I can't remember who Napoli were playing, but the boy played with Hibs was playing, so McTominay and Gilmour were playing for Napoli. There was 3 Scotsmen on the park.
Josh Doig at left back for the other team, yeah.
Ross County versus St Mirren, there was only 2 Scotsmen on the park. Mental, mate.
Yeah, absolutely mental. And we wonder how the Scottish game's struggling, because I'm going to give another example, mate. Right, so you've got 2 guys who, one of them were on, by the way, and
he was a good player. He was a good player, 2 guys.
He was, but right, Bailey Rice. I'm going to mention 2 guys that are currently in the Scottish game and where their careers at the moment. Right, so you Bailey Rice and you can boy Lennon Miller, who Rangers looked at both. We decided to take Bailey Rice. Now, the story goes that we took Bailey Rice because we thought he looked like a player that was more advanced than Lennon Miller was. And then Lennon Miller decided, I'll stay so I get games. Now, he comes to Rangers and Bailey Rice and doesn't get a lot of games, mate. I think he's played 9 games, but I think it equates to 127 minutes this season so far. Whereas Lennon Miller has played practically all of Motherwell's games. He became the captain. He's a Scottish national call-up. And what that shows, Oxshire, if you're willing to stay and maybe stay at the level of Motherwell but get games, you progress, mate. Because Bailey Rice, in my opinion, his career's stalled. All right, you might be training with better guys, Oxshire, but that's nothing. Lennon Miller is on that pitch week in, week out against players of Celtic, Aberdeen, Rangers.
What are you saying? Are you saying to me, buy these players, own them back? Is that what you're saying?
It's an option, mate. Of course it is. Of course it is. Why hinder the development? Because that, to me, there's no clearer proof than 2 guys that were supposed to be on level par in their career at that moment, but we're believed to have taken the better one. And Lennon Miller is way overtook him, mate. And just look at the transfer fees they're talking about the boy, because he stayed and he developed. Sometimes it's not always the best idea, mate, to look at the bright lights of the bigger clubs, whether it's down south or up in Scotland, and go there and then before you know it, you're stuck on the bench or in the youth team, and you don't get a chance, Oxshire. So maybe we dare to look at that. Maybe we need. I mean, Chelsea, you know this, Oxshire. We've discussed this, me and you. Chelsea make a fortune after going and buying the best young talent. Get them in. Tell them when they sign, right, in a 9-year contract, but you can write out a loan. And many times we've seen Chelsea sign on sell a player that's not even kicked a ball for the club, for 40, 50, 60 million, mate. You know what I mean? So it's a model that definitely seems to work. But in Scotland right now, the Lennon Miller story and the Bailey Rice story, Lennon Miller is talking between 6 to 8 million to buy him. Scottish internationalist and played, I think it's 160 games or something like that for Motherwell. The boys head and shoulders, mate. We need to get this thing right as well. Not just about...
The only thing I will say, mate, is at the moment, I've not seen Lennon Miller kick a ball against us, mate, even when they beat us.
Right, mate. That's a good observation, Oxshire. But
yeah,
he's obviously done it against anybody else.
I know. I don't see him apart from against us, mate. Yeah, if I'm honest, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's been outstanding. I don't think I've thought, okay, I take a punt on him. And I've not seen enough of Bailey to judge me. There's flaws in his game, but I take your point. It's a great point, GB, in it. Maybe buy them, buy potential, loan them back and let them develop, because they're disappearing in the ethos. We've not got this pathway to develop them because they can't get games. And we've not got any set up in Scotland. It's criminal. No reserve football, you know.
Gets more of our boys into these other teams, Ox, that are got to fight for points elsewhere and try and take points across the city. Ox, that's the thing. Like Southside said last night, I mean, McCausland and all that don't turn up to play bad. They're blue noses. They want to go out there and get results for us and stuff like that. But like say, the Bailey Rice, you loan him out to, I don't know, Dundee or Hearts or something like that. You mean it will help their squad and it will build experience, but it needs to be, like you say, the right club where they've got to get game time. Bailey Rice, for me, the jury's still out, mate. He looks as though he's got the talent, but is he any better than what's in the league? You mean, is he better than the Lennon Miller? Is he? You could. Let's face it, you could probably go into most of the teams, Hibs, Hearts and all that, and you'd probably find another Bailey Rice kicking about in it. And I think that's where our youth system is. Our youth system's got to be at a better level than the rest of our league. Ox, for me, for them to have a career at Rangers, to be honest. The likes of the Barry Fergusons, the Pattersons, the Huttons, I mean, there's once in every blue moon in our kind of academy. I just don't really see it. I think, like Port, I would rather maybe turn it into a kind of money maker, that we develop them, loan them to a club, and then we eventually punt them for £1 million, and we start making some money through that, and it just adds into the coffers for us to try and strengthen the actual first team. Ox helps with the financial fair play, but for youth in our club now, unless this academy gets turned down majorly, I don't really see any of them really breaking through anytime soon, Ox, to be fair.
I like the boy Curtis, mate. I don't know why, mate. I just think he's got a wee bit of physicality. He's got pace, which became a big asset in the modern game, Port, innit? You know, you've got to be quick to play in certain positions. The technical ability at times is, maybe know that is important when you start playing. That boy's got pace. He's shown in a game against Aberdeen, he's got desire. We know he can score goals because you've seen that with his numbers for the B team. So I'd keep my eye on him, yeah. And listen, I hope the odd do it, because you want somebody in there, but they've got to be good enough. Port.
Again, mate, I looked at Finlay Curtis today as well. 5 games, 111 minutes over them 5 games. Again, to me, that's not good enough, Oxshire. And, you know, if we want these boys to really, really develop, they need better than 5 games in 111 minutes a season to progress. In my opinion, I know I sound too harsh, but I'll waste my time.
Look what we've done to Leon King, mate. It's criminal. It's criminal. Yeah.
You're youth football, Oxshire. I know you coached a couple of teams in a certain age group, you know what I mean? So you know, and you've played the game as well, mate. You know a lot about the game. These guys need a chance to develop, Oxshire, or I'm telling you, mate, we're wasting our time. We're absolutely wasting our time.
Aye,
We're wasting
there's
these
going to be a
boys'
pathway.
times. Because we're not giving them a...
Southside goes mad about it. There's going to be a pathway, and I don't see the bridge, mate. And also don't know if the 9 subs works is good for the development either, because you've got 20 players turning up on a Saturday, and if you don't go on, you might not play again for 3 weeks. And how can that be good for the pros? I just, there's a lot of things I don't get, but maybe I'm a dinosaur, GB.
No, Ox, you're right, and it's like this is what we touched on. Again, you're saying about Finlay Curtis. You hope there's promise there, Ox. He has showed in the B team. He showed it in his hard-working performance the other day there, but he's played out of position, Ox. He's getting asked to cover left back. I mean, I don't see the point in that. He just becomes another good player in our league. I mean, there's no level there. Like that says that again, you could go and search our league and you'd probably find boys of the same level, Ox. That's a sad indictment, unfortunately, of our academy. I've not seen any of them come in and go, oh right, he's like a Barry Ferguson. He's got to be able to grasp this and keep his place. It's like Gerrard said when he came into the Liverpool squad, he was pushing guys out the road and he was keeping his shirt. I've just not seen any of our youth have that hunger yet, Ox. None of them just look as though they've got it to grab it week in, week out and push folk out the road. Because let's face it, Ox, our teams there the last couple of seasons have been absolutely honking at times. And how none of our youth have been able to grab a shirt in front of them, I do not know. You know what I mean? They should be. There's been opportunities there. Like say, with Dessel's been off the ball and all the rest of it up front, should be a boy there, a striker of some sort, trying to push through. Midfield, you see Barn make his mistakes. Left back, right back, obviously we won't do it. Young boy to Livingston and stuff eventually. But again, there's just no data. We had Divine and stuff like that. It ended up we let go. You talk about King. King's not being able to grasp that centre back position as well.
I watched Adam Divine closely, mate. Yeah, I watched him closely. That boy's got a tremendous engine in him. Yeah, tremendous. Yeah, and I mean, you got him doing that part all day long. Yeah, but he's no pace, mate.
Aye, that's what I'm saying, mate. They all falter. They've always got something that this can't get them over the line.
He's got that. He's got that flaw in him, mate, to get to the next level, mate. Because you know what it's like. You can't make somebody quicker.
No, so it's probably one of the very few things in football, mate, that you can't add to a player. You've either got it or you've not got it. You're pacey, you're a greyhound, or you're not. That's a simple fact, mate. I'm like you. I had a lot of excitement about Adam Devine. I really did. And I thought at one point when he got a few games when Tab was injured, I thought this boy's doing well. And maybe he's going to be finally the boy who's going to dislodge him. You know what I mean? But again, just as soon as the captain's back, mate, and I get it. Listen, I get it because we demand so much success. We've always got to go to tried and tested and experienced and all that, mate. I get it. Of course I do. We've got no time to stand still because, we're 2 games away from a disaster at Ibrox, and I understand it all. But what I'm touching on, mate, is see these last remaining games. I'm going to ask you a question. See these last remaining games, why don't we give youth a chance, Oxdear? See, apart from them, the players that we think are on the fringes that could be leaving, like I touched on earlier on, your Barjamis, your Propers, Cortez, let's have a look at them, mate. Let's have a look at them before the end of the season's finally over. And let's have a look at the youngsters properly. Get Finlay Curtis in, get Bailey Rice in, give them a chance. Even NCL, mate. Get NCL in.
He should start. He should start and start.
Aye, exactly, mate. Exactly. Let's look at them next year. Let's choose this the remainder of the season. I'm not buying it. There's nothing to play for in Dead Rubbers. I want to see these guys showing up for their work and saying, right, I want to stay here. Or I don't, and if they show it on the pitch and they don't next year, then they're out the door. But if they show character and will and desire, look, I'm up for the fight. I'm up for the fight and I want to stay because maybe they're excited of what's going to happen under the new regime. Because that's another big thing at Bushy, mate. But let's have a look. Give them a chance, mate.
All right. Right, let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Aye, I get it, mate. I get it. You know, if Bailey's fit, why not? Why not? Curtis, you know, I don't mean 5 minutes to the end. Maybe start with him, or you give them minimum the last half an hour. You know what I mean? You know, they're going to come
100%
what may. You know, there's three. There's just three. Yeah, and Salah, Bailey, and young Finlay Curtis. And if you throw in Igaman to that, mate, that's four. If you're honest, GB.
Ox, yep. I think we just get a shot, Ox, because we'll never know. We'll never know if these boys are going to be able to handle it at Rangers. And at least then we might be able to see something in it. But for me, Ox, like say, Bailey Rice, Curtis coming in a game like say St Mirren, they should be able to handle it, Ox. They should be able to match that level. If they can't be better than St Mirren's team, Ox, I know the rest of the team have got to play to help them, but I says if they are no shining in amongst a game like say against St Mirren, for me, Ox, then they're never going to make it. They're never going to get there, I don't think. It's just, you've just got to be better than that level, Ox, if you're going to actually last at Rangers.
I don't think you can judge youth in one game. I think you'd have to play the game, and then you'd have to go back in and dissect it. You know, that's maybe part of the trouble with they shoot too quickly, but you need to go back in, dissect it, see what the guy's movement was, what was he like, and really watching closely what the analysts have got today, yeah. You know, and that's all part of it, was his movement, right? What was he doing, yeah. Things that we might not notice when we're actually watching the game, because we're watching the ball, aren't we? You know, we're watching the ball and seeing if it goes up to Igaman to see if he's shooting. We're not watching what positions the midfielder's taking off the ball, you know what I mean?
Aye, exactly, mate. You know, Igaman's been one that I've been watching closely over the last few games. You know, getting stuck out in that left, mate, when Dessers, you know, at times couldn't hit a barn door, you know, and I'm thinking, don't want that boy scurred. I don't want him scurred. I want him through the middle. Yeah, he's raw, mate. We know that. He's a raw talent, and I still believe he's one of the biggest talents we've got. And I do think we make a lot of money off him, but, you know, I don't want him getting to that stage, mate, where he's going, you know, what have I got to do? You know, anytime I've been asked and I've been played through that middle, I've scored a goal or I've made a goal, or, you know, but he must be sitting thinking, what's going on? Why am I not getting my chance? You know, and I don't want that boy scored, mate. I really don't, because I do think he's one guy that if consistency got, you know, if he got the games, I think the consistency would come. Like the youth players like Finlay Curtis and like Bailey Rice, if they got the games, the consistency would come, mate. The match sharpness comes, everything comes, and these boys aren't getting that chance to get that match, you know, game day sharpness, because it's in and out and it's bit part, 15 minutes, 10 minutes. You know, oh, sure, you played the game, mate. How do you get that if you're not getting consistent run of games? You can't build your consistency, you can't build your match sharpness, you know, where it's every touch, your first touch becomes, you know, crystal. Everything all just falls into place when you're playing games week in, week out, mate. When you're playing stop, start, how do you hear it all? How do the boys get a fair crack?
No,
That's all I'm
they
asking.
don't,
That's all I'm asking.
because it's a step up in pace, mate. It's a step up in physique. You'll get maybe a guy's 15 stone leaning on you, and you're 17 years of age and you've never heard that before. You're as fit as a butcher's dog yourself. But this guy's 32, mate. He knows how to play, he knows how to lean on you. You know what I'm talking about, Port. Yeah.
Oh, of course I do. Yeah. Been there, done it, mate. Yeah. But you learn so much from it, mate. You learn so much from it.
Aye. You know, you learn how to move. You know what I mean? And then you've got guys chatting in your ear you've maybe never heard before. You kind of stand up to it. Some players don't bother with it. Other players, it drives them on. Other players go to pieces. It's all part of the game, mate.
I'd love to find out. Do you know what I'd love to ask Oxford? See the listeners tonight. I'd love to ask the listeners. You know, call in, guys. I'd like to hear your opinion on how do we give youth a chance? Is there do you guys see a pathway? And what players have you guys seen in the youth team that really think could make the next step? I'd love to hear a punter's view, mate, on how we get these guys integrated into the team. I really would.
They've got to be good enough. You've got to be good enough.
Yeah.
I believe that Alex Lowry can't even get in the Wickham squad, mate.
Aye, that boy's missed his chance, I think, mate. I really believe that. I think that boy's missed his chance. Too much, too soon. But the money, the hype, I think that can destroy a player. When you start to believe in your own hype, mate, bad things happen. And I think, unfortunately, that's what happened with Alex Lowry. But that should be a lesson to the rest of the boys in your dressing room that are at his age group. And I'm going to say that to Rangers as well. Don't give these boys too much too soon. Make them underdogs, because this is another thing I think that's ruining football. These young lads are getting far too much money, far too soon in their careers when they've absolutely done nothing yet.
Yeah, the problem is if you want to keep someone on the walk, going back to contracts, mate. I've said it before on here. I'm going to come up with something radical. It doesn't make sense, GP.
Fire away. Have I got a new contract?
It's up for debate, mate. It's up for debate. There might be a seat in the minibus for you.
Or the boot.
Right. I think I've thought about this, and I've mentioned it before on here. I think we have to give bigger contracts to try and attract better players. But the contracts have to be loaded, and we have to do them differently. And the contracts need to be bigger when guys are in the first team and we're winning. We're actually turning back time. Yeah. You actually might end up paying more wages to your first team 11, but less wages to the first team squad. Yeah, so there has to incentivize, there has to be maybe big, and to get people playing, and the guys that's in the team every week and they're winning, get rewarded. And if you're not in that team and you're not getting picked and you're not in the squad, you're on a different contract, and then it's up to them. If people don't want to sign it, we walk away. Radical, I know. It's a step back, Port, isn't it?
Ox, you're right though. The win bonus side, like for the team, like I would put a heavy win bonus on the first team squad, so that, like, say for talk's sake, somebody in the squad ends up costing them winning that game, it will create that kind of mentality to try and push somebody on to not make that mistake ever again, because they've cost the full team a good payout. You know what I mean?
I would give some of that, mate. But I would give whether you're in the squad or not, and then the manager decides, and then it's discipline. And if you're not playing, your wages go down. Yeah, because I think as Port said, in some respects they get their money too easy. I'm not maybe just talking about our club. Maybe the whole game has to look at it, but I'm talking about our club. Bizarrely, I might give you bigger contracts, Port, but if you're not doing the business, you're not earning that money.
Aye, I think something radical like that has to happen, mate. As I said, there has to be, remember the old increment payments you used to get and stuff. If you play so many games, if you play so many European games, you called up your national team. Put all these increments in place so that if you're meeting these targets, and even developmental targets, so where are you at? So you've got your analysts, you've got your analytics teams all looking at player progression. If you're meeting these targets, then you'll climb that ladder of payment, mate. But as I said, mate, they just get it far too easy. So some of them youth players were getting signed by Chelsea, mate, were walking straight in at like 40 grand. One of the biggest examples I remember is when Micah Richards, I think he was on 8 grand at Aston Villa when he broke in there. Went to Man City and went straight to 50 grand, mate, at 19 years of age under Sven-Göran Eriksson. I've seen Richard's interview on that, he said that he got that offer too soon, was out buying Rolex, he was out buying Bentleys. He said he bought a Bentley that he couldn't afford at the time, he was on 50 grand a week. There you go, mate. So all that is too much too soon. And it wasn't until he got to a later age when Andy got a management team behind him that started to turn out to use his money correctly. And he actually ended up getting a management team, financial team, to just look after his money totally, mate, because he was so, spend happy. It's like a man with 5 arms, just spend. And that's, I get it. Of course, if we were young Oxford, if we were up, guys, you would say,
yourself, I'm off.
we would, we would all do it, wouldn't we? We would all do it. But I think with the money they're getting now, I think they have to seriously consider getting somebody in place at the club should put it in place, whoever it may be, the agents, to make them realise, these contracts are going to change. You need to look after what you're earning, and as I say, drip feed them at Oxford, drip feed them the money, because as soon as you're handing a boy at 1950 grand a week, what more does he need to do, Oxford? You know what I mean? 2 million contracts a year, things like that. 3 million, what is going on? And we wonder why a lot of players in Scotland and even England, to a certain extent, great start to their careers and they fade off into the sunset. You know what I mean? And end up playing in lesser leagues, etc. But there has to be a radical, change in player structure and player wages. And I'm going to mention that again because I've mentioned it before here, and I still think there should be a wage cap.
I think you'll find that's illegal, mate. The clubs would have to inquire. Right, I think we're putting a poll on the Facebook page to see who the manager is. Yeah, I'm getting the details of who's in it. All School Blues be on their way doing that. So we'll get a poll. I think the candidates are guys like Barry and Jose Mourinho, Stevie G, and we'll see what it takes us. Farker's mentioned on it. We'll just have a quick poll and see what people are thinking, mate. Just they're talking. Might be talking wrong, as you see. GB, there might be somebody left field,
Aye, I mean, it's Americans that's coming in, Ox. I mean, when you look at Leeds, how they broke that guy in for the MLS to manage Leeds at one point as well, didn't they?
Jesse March.
Jesse, that's the boy, aye, and he was a total unknown as well. He had stats and stuff like that, and folk knew his name, but he wasn't like, you wouldn't think he would be coming into like the Championship and stuff like that. But they took a punt on him. You know what I mean? But you see, back to the contract stuff, Fox. I mean, see when Steven Gerrard came in, that was one of the first things he looked at. He seen like say Big Buffalo and all that. He was like, no, new contract for him. I want him on higher money, and that gave him an enticement to score more goals and stuff like that. And I think Gerrard knew that throughout the full squad, that you dangle more money at them and they'll work harder for you. They'll want that extra $5,000 a week in their pocket, you mean, to do whatever they want with. So maybe that's the way, Ox. Maybe that if you perform well, then you'll get rewarded with like a new contract on top of your current contract kind of thing. Like you'll keep getting, it'll get renewed, you'll get more money, that kind of thing.
If you play well, you're rewarded with being back in the team the next week, mate. And then if you're earning more money, it's secondary. Mm-hmm. The trouble now is with the system they've got with their contracts that they pick up, the manager's no control. Because it pretty much bar maybe some of the deals you sign, some of them still might get the European money when they're sitting in the stand because it's in their contract. So the manager's absolutely no control, and it's mental in my opinion, you know what I mean? I've no problem with people being rewarded well when 50,000 people are wanting to pay good money to watch them play football. You know, I'm not saying that some of the contracts all over the world are obscene. That's a whole different debate. But however, no problem when I'm being rewarded, but you have to be rewarded for doing your job. What?
Aye, and it all starts with showing up for your work, Oxford. Unless you're this sick note stuff. I think that's where it starts. That's what I get so frustrated about with a lot of your squad. I think certainly in the last few years, there's been far too many people on the medical tables, mate. You know, and that's not good enough for me. That's not good enough. And that's how we touched on Cortez earlier on. And I know I've got an obligation to buy, surely there must be some sort of loophole, Oxchair, with the lack of games he's played, the amount of injuries he's had. Surely we can go to his parent club and say, look, it's not worked out. The injuries he's had is, been out of this world. He's not a player that we reckon is worth what you're asking for. So is there any chance? We might get penalised for Oxchair, but I think they've quoted the 3.4 million.
I'll cut across.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
I know it's not your fault. I know David's joined us. Evening, DT.
How's it going, lads?
What about after hearing your dulcet tones, brother?
Well, that's us getting close to the end of the season now, isn't it? So it's just finish these last few games off, and then just next season. It's so important next season. I agree there. See, like incentives and all. You must be. Players are getting players in at Ibrox for a number of years now have been rewarded for giving little in return. In terms of the Cortez one as well, I said a while ago, see when he first came into Rangers and he done well, him and Diamande. He started off great and then he got injured. But Rangers fans had this clamour for him to, when we got that, when we took him in as an obligation to buy, Rangers fans are going, why we no, we took him in as like an option to buy at one point or whatever it was, the kind of deal again. Rangers fans are wanting him signed right away. And I thought to myself, and I said this to a lot of folk, I says, I don't think we've seen a great amount of games for this guy to really, be spending that kind of money. And to be honest now, see looking back at and in terms of, I think now the obligation to buy, I don't think there's any way out of that. I think that's it. But the kind of money they're talking, it's another silly signing, and we just can't be doing this now. These signings have to be bang on here. And in terms of Gerrard come in, you're getting Aribos, you're getting Camaras, you're getting Bassies, you're getting good players, top class players on no a hell of a lot of money, and you need to get it right this time. We're spending too much money, guys. Spot on. Can he reward failure time and time again?
Yeah. I think we're all singing off the same hymn sheet. GB?
Hi, David. No, we need to get it right. I mean, you're talking about Stevie G, how he could attract players. There's like Defoe and all that came up the road for him. We got Stephen Davis back as well. We had Scotty Arfield in the team. He was a big fan of Ryan Jack at the time as well. I mean, the Stevie G could see a player. I mean, and he could, with his backroom team, they could actually build football that was easy on the eye at times. We did struggle eventually with this kind of constantly playing down the wing and stuff like that. But again, I think that the investment kind of dried up there. I think he was eager to try and strengthen, especially on that right side. Stevie G never got the chance to buy the winger on the right side that he always wanted. He always had to kind of put Hadji out there or whatever. So maybe this is the time, mate. Maybe this is the time that Stevie G's had the talks with him. There's unfinished business there, and the 49ers are going to give him a war chest that he needed back after 55. Maybe he feels he's got some unfinished business to deal with, and the club will probably see him as a safe pair of hands to attract the right mentality to the club.
If it's going to be anything in the next few weeks, David, it's not going to be boring, is it? Off the pitch.
It's sort of time, innit? Never boring with us. It's going to be. I mean, it's going to be there'll be a lot of work done everywhere. But we just hope that we're getting it right this time. I agree. I think I've said it on here before. I don't see any argument against Gerrard. I think there's only one man for the job. The kind of Mourinho shouts and that. I know people laugh. I'm not convinced with that at all. I would rather Gerrard in. 13 goals he conceded in that 55 season. The amount of goals we were scoring, playing some lovely football. People said Gerrard didn't play a great brand of football. I just don't. I think that's just nonsense, to be honest. He got a few signings wrong. but you can't get them all right. But on the whole, he get his biggest majority of signings spot on. And it's going to be crazy horses the next number of weeks. But we're looking forward to it. This is what we need. This root and branch clear out, but this has to be the last root and branch clear out for a while, because we can't keep doing this season after season.
Put better.
I we had earlier on, David. As I said earlier on, love Steven Gerrard. Absolutely loved, and I'm like you. I love the style of football. I love that 4-3-3 attacking wingers. I absolutely loved it. He done very well. We had guys back like Kamara and stuff like that who all come in the free transfer, hit the ground running. We had a decent side, mate. But I'll ask you a question: who would these backroom staff be, mate? Because that worries me. That worries me, because we all remember who was part of it. A guy that was given the Rangers club. So I think he'd be pretty loyal to his backroom staff, mate, and that worries me. I want a new direction. I want a big name. I want a player I want a manager going to attract top talent that'll, guys maybe not keep me in their club. I want a manager with that sort of stature that I will play for him. Like Gerrard, mate, somebody like that. Somebody in that ilk, a bit more experience, mate. But that's my worry with Gerrard, mate. Who would these backroom staff be?
I think. He never took. Michael Beale left him when he was at Villa, and he didn't take Michael Beale to late on. I think if that is the case, I think
there's not a chance.
Yeah.
If Gerrard get the Rangers job, there's not a hope in Honolulu it would be Michael Beale as his assistant. No chance. No way.
No. I think that ship sailed, David.
Oh, 100%. That's well done, mate. As you say there, you're right. He didn't actually take, Beale right away.
Initially.
Aye. The kind of backroom side it, I wouldn't be overly concerned. I think it wouldn't surprise me, for instance, if he got the job. I think McAllister would be back. And I wouldn't be against that. I would like to see Kevin Thompson actually involved a bit further up in the club. I've heard shouts like Barry Ferguson and Gerrard together. Barry wants the job. He won't be an assistant, Barry. Not this particular time. No chance he wants the job. If he's not getting a job, he'll not be at Ibrox. I'm not overly convinced about the backroom team. I think he'd get that sorted out.
Here's the poll results as we go this now. Stevie G 22%, Josie Marino 6%, Barry 17%, someone else 56%. Well, there you go. Opinion and bookies, two different things. Yeah.
Aye.
Yes. So yeah, definitely, mate. And that's what I'm saying. I think GB's probably right, Oxshire, when it's going to be somebody, this came from nowhere. It's going to be somebody, we've not expected. But as I said, I strongly believe director of football knew it's practically a place with to the new regime and saying, right, who are we looking for? This is my philosophy. We need to find a manager that's going to suit. Because that's what it's all about now. We're back to this role and this model of using director of football again next year. So he's got a philosophy and a type of football we need to play. So he'll be looking for coaching staff and a manager that suits his philosophy.
David, then GB.
Aye. One thing I would say as well, though, but we're talking about a bit of, it'll be summed out anywhere. I don't want that. But we've had these guys out anywhere, and it's not worked. And in terms of, I've heard a few times, Phil, loads of folks saying you need somebody experienced. No. So a guy experienced, maybe a guy elsewhere or whatever, he's done all these jobs elsewhere, but they're not more experienced. I bet Steven Gerrard is experienced in the Old Firm Derby. He's experienced in winning a title with Rangers. He knows it's a powder keg atmosphere. He knows it's a goldfish bowl in Scotland. That experience to me means more than a guy with all the coaching badges and he's been all these managers, all these different clubs. That's experience to me. So I Gerrard for me, no question. So
there's that much noise around Gerrard, David. That's the thing. Like I think it was about maybe a couple of months back. There was that photograph of him standing next to the guy that supplies suits to Rangers and all that. And
the suits.
And he says, and the caption was back home and all that. And then the next minute there was that. I know it was probably, well, it was made up, but the whole Hugh Keevins WhatsApp thing getting passed about and all that, and it mentioned that Gerrard was back, and then like he says, you look at the bookies, how heavily Gerrard's been backed. I think the last time I looked there, he was like 11-2.
See the thing is with the when you go, mate. Sorry.
I'm just saying. I know that a tenner can change the bookies and stuff like that.
That's just what you say.
It's not a strong book. It's like white Christmas, mate. It doesn't take a lot.
Can I ask you, Ox?
Yes, mate.
Who would you like to see in as a manager?
If you mentioned the three that's been talked about, it's the Jose Mourinho, Daniel Farker, and Stevie G. They're the three that we've sort of looked at tonight. Would that be fair, lads?
Aye.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would rate it 1, Stevie G, 2, Mourinho. I can't believe I'm saying that. But 3, Daniel Farker. That would be order. I don't care who the manager is. I just want a winner. David, I want somebody who's come in and is a winner. Yeah. Now, Mourinho and Stevie G at different times in different ways are winners. Now, Mourinho obviously couldn't. I don't even think he played professional football, so there goes that bit. But Gerrard he's a winner. Mourinho as a manager is a proven winner. Yeah, but there's pros and cons and minuses knowing him. Yeah, and we'll see where it takes us. You know, but that's how I would rate the three we've talked about. My preference with the three: first Gerrard, second Mourinho, and 3 Farker. Right, Port, you just want to come in quickly, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again, but because we just had a chat and the time's getting away from us, yeah?
I just realised that, mate. Sorry about that. Even who's on, just I want to find out how the troop on here tonight.
We're losing you. We're losing you, mate. Shame about that. David, last word for your good self.
Aye, lads, cheers for having his own. Just phoned up quickly, but aye, couple of games to go here. Let's win the games. I know they're important. You need to win the games. I don't care how much is riding on it. You need to win the games. And next season, we know what's happening. Move on, and hopefully this time we get it right, because you know we've no got a bad set. There's a couple of players in there who could stay. So aye, let's get on about it next season.
Cheers, mate. GP.
Yep, Ox, thanks for having us on. It's good to be back on with Big Port Bear, and thanks to the callers, David and David. Just like I says, hopefully these announcements just keep coming, Ox, because it'll be a long summer if there's no.
I was on with the 2 Ronnies last night, and I'm on with the 2 Davids tonight. Port Bear.
Aye, mate. Good night. Good chat. Enjoyed it again, mate. Always a pleasure. And thanks for having us on. Thanks to everybody.
Yeah. Thanks to David for giving us a call. Port and GB for doing the show. And of course, Fox and Old School Blue in the background who are doing some magnificent work at the moment, because there's a lot of things going on with our system, and I'm sure they too will crack it. Thanks for listening. Rangers Radio will be back tomorrow night, and the Southside Super 6 will be back. Yes. Take it away, Old School Blue.